Title: My wife cheated on a girls' trip, and I exposed her. Chapter 1: The girls' trip. I used to think I knew her. We'd been together for 6 years, married for 3. We had our routines, our inside jokes, and dreams that stretched into the future. Kids, a house, growing old together. She was a nurse with a calming smile, and I was a tech guy who believed in logic more than instinct. Together we built a life I thought was solid. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real. 2 months ago she started talking about a girls' trip. A reunion in Miami with her college friends. Nothing suspicious, just sunshine, cocktails, and old memories. She deserved a break. She'd been pulling double shifts and coming home too exhausted to even eat some nights. When she said she needed to unwind, I agreed wholeheartedly. I helped her pack. I drove her to the airport. She kissed me on the cheek before heading into security, bouncing with excitement like a teenager about to meet her idols. "I'll text you when I land," she said with that grin I used to love. And she did. A few photos of the hotel view, a shot of their dinner that first night, and a group selfie of 4 smiling women ready to paint Miami pink. I smiled back at the screen. It felt good to see her happy. It felt safe. But that illusion didn't last long. Friday night came and went, and for the first time since we'd been together, she didn't say goodnight. No text. No call. I brushed it off. Maybe she was out late, maybe she'd had too much to drink. I didn't want to be that husband, the overbearing, clingy one who questioned every silence. But even then something shifted. I didn't know it yet, but that silence was the crack in the dam. Saturday morning, still no message. It wasn't until 2 p.m. that she finally texted, "Hey babe, having so much fun. Talk later." No details. No photos. Just vague enthusiasm. And for her, that wasn't normal. She was the kind of person who posted her brunch before eating it, who sent me sunsets and silly videos and random stories about her day. She never held back. That day she did. Saturday night came and I called her, just to say hi. The call went straight to voicemail. No response. I tried not to overthink it. I tried not to let my thoughts spiral into places they'd never been. But by Sunday, something inside me began to twitch, like an old warning bell ringing in a fog. She texted me in the afternoon, "Flights delayed, might not be back until late." And that was it. No updates. No airport chaos selfies. No tired face emojis from the gate. Just silence wrapped in excuses. Still, I wanted to believe her. I needed to. But something inside me, the quiet part one usually ignore, was whispering louder now. And when I finally sat down that evening, staring at my laptop, hands slightly trembling, I clicked open something I never thought I would. Her Google Maps timeline. I didn't know then that what I was about to see would shatter everything I believed about the woman I thought I loved. Chapter 2: Silence and Suspicion. Google Maps. It wasn't something I ever thought I'd use like this. But we'd shared our accounts years ago. Family calendar, playlists, navigation. I never had a reason to check it, until now. I opened her profile, clicked on timeline, and watched the screen load with a strange weight pressing on my chest. Thursday looked normal. Landed at Miami International. Traveled to the hotel on South Beach. A restaurant nearby. A walk along the beach. Everything matched the pictures she'd sent. Then came Friday night. And there it was, something I couldn't explain. Around 8:42 p.m. she left the hotel and traveled inland, about 25 minutes away. Not to a restaurant. Not to a club. To a residential apartment complex. She stayed there until nearly noon the next day. I zoomed in hoping I was wrong. Maybe she went to a party with friends. Maybe they knew someone in Miami. Maybe, but the hotel wasn't far from all the nightlife. This was tucked away. Quiet. Personal. Saturday afternoon, she returned briefly to the hotel. Then Saturday evening, back to the same address. Twice. 2 nights in a row. And that was exactly when her messages had stopped. My mouth went dry. This wasn't overthinking. This wasn't insecurity. This was evidence, cold, digital, undeniable. I opened Instagram, hands shaking slightly. Her friends had posted stories from the trip. The brunette, the blonde, and the new girl. Sunlit brunches, poolside cocktails, bathroom selfies before nights out. But my wife was missing in most of them. Captions like, "Wish our fourth would stop ditching us," and "She's doing her own thing" winking face made my stomach drop. Doing her own thing? What kind of thing? With who? I replayed a video from Saturday night, 3 women dancing on a rooftop bar. But just in the corner, a blurry table in the background, and a figure that made my heart freeze. Long dark hair. A familiar laugh, barely audible beneath the music. It looked like her. I watched the video over and over, zoomed in frame by frame. My mind wanted to scream that I was being paranoid. But my gut knew better. The woman at that table wasn't celebrating with her girls. She was with someone else. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the couch, scrolling, searching, reviewing every tiny breadcrumb she didn't think to erase. And for the first time in our relationship, I realized I didn't know what kind of truth I'd wake up to tomorrow. Chapter 3, The Digital Trail. Sleep never came. My mind kept running laps around every memory, every detail, every smile that now felt like a lie. By morning I needed more than theories. I needed answers. So I went deeper. I pulled up the address from Google Maps, the one she visited Friday and Saturday night. A quick search showed it was an upscale apartment complex just off the city's main strip. High-end, quiet, mostly short-term rentals and corporate leases. That didn't narrow it down. But I wasn't done. I started browsing public Instagram posts tagged at that location. It was like scrolling through the lives of strangers, until one balcony shot stopped me cold. The skyline. The pool view. It matched exactly what I saw on her timeline. And in the caption? A casual mention, Friday night vibes wineglass dizzy, posted by a guy named Jason. His profile was public. I clicked on it. Real estate agent. Miami local. 32. Slick suits, watches, gym selfies. I wouldn't have looked twice if it weren't for one picture. 3 weeks ago. My wife and this man, seated close in a dimly lit restaurant. Her hair done up. That smile she rarely gave me anymore. The caption? Finally convinced this beautiful woman to leave her man for a real dinner. I felt sick. I slammed the laptop shut and rushed to the bathroom, barely making it before I vomited into the sink. My hands shook so violently I had to brace myself against the counter. But I wasn't done. I pulled up our phone bill. I was still an authorized user. Hundreds of messages and call logs to a Miami number. His number. Late at night. Middle of the day. Long calls during hospital shifts she claimed were too busy for even a quick reply to me. It was all right there. In ink. In timestamps. I printed every page. Screenshots. Social media posts. Timeline paths. Phone records. Everything. I put them in a folder like I was building a case file. Because that's what this had become, an investigation into the stranger I married. She came home that evening like nothing had happened. She kissed me. Told me about how exhausting work was. Asked if I wanted takeout or to cook something together. And I just stood there, watching her talk, listening to her spin this performance. Wondering how someone can be so cruel and so convincing all at once. I waited for the perfect moment. Let her settle in. Let her act. Let her lie. Then I asked it, softly, steadily. So, how was your time with him? Her entire body stiffened. Chapter 4, The Confrontation. She froze like a statue. Not a flinch. Not a blink. Just frozen in that moment, as if the entire room stopped breathing with her. What did you say? She finally whispered, her voice tight and trembling. I didn't blink. I asked how your time was. With him. In Miami. At his apartment. She turned around slowly, her face pale. Eyes darting, calculating. Trying to figure out what I knew, and what I didn't. I don't know what you're talking about. Her voice cracked on the last word. I could see the gears turning behind her eyes, scrambling to control the narrative, to pivot, to lie. But I was done playing fair. I know everything, I said. I have the Google Maps timeline. I know where you were. I know how long you stayed. I've seen the pictures. I've heard the voicemails. I've got the phone records. The silence that followed was like a vacuum. Like sound itself had been yanked out of the room. And then, something unexpected happened. She collapsed into the chair. Not the dramatic, soap opera kind of breakdown. This was raw. Violent. Her breath came in gasps. Her hands covered her face. Ugly crying, snot, spit, shaking shoulders. And in between sobs came the truth I'd braced myself for. She admitted it. All of it. The guy had messaged her on Instagram after seeing her tagged in the brunette's story. They started flirting, texting, then calling. He made her feel alive, she said. Wanted. Desired. Like she wasn't just a wife. He convinced her to use the girls' trip as a cover to visit him in Miami. They planned it down to the hour. Booked the hotel for appearances. Posted fake photos. Lied to her friends at first. But eventually even they found out, and she begged them not to tell me. The worst part wasn't the sex. It was the plan. She was going to leave me. Not then. Not immediately. No. She was going to wait until our lease was up. 3 months. Let me believe everything was fine. Maybe even try to make it look like the split was mutual. I didn't want to hurt you, she sobbed. But I didn't want to stay either. She said she still loved me but not the way she used to. Not enough to stay. Not enough to be honest. I sat there listening to my marriage bleed out in front of me, and all I could think was, how long had I been sleeping beside a stranger? Chapter 5, The Collapse. She stayed at her sister's that night. I didn't ask her to. I didn't tell her to. She just knew there was nothing left here for her. The hours after she left were a blur. I stared at walls, at furniture we picked together, at the dog who still waited by the door for her. Everything looked the same but nothing felt familiar anymore. The next morning I called a divorce lawyer. No hesitation. No second thoughts. I wasn't angry because she cheated. I was angry because she planned it. She lived a double life with perfect lies, night after night, kiss after kiss. She turned me into a fool without ever blinking. But if she thought I was going to let her walk away and pretend we just grew apart, she was wrong. I went to Facebook. No rage, no drama, just the facts. My wife and I are getting divorced because she's been having an affair for 2 months and used a girl's trip as cover to spend time with her boyfriend in Miami. I tagged her. I tagged the brunette, the blonde, a few mutual friends. Then I logged out. It exploded. Her phone must have lit up like a Christmas tree. Within hours, I had messages from friends, coworkers, even family. Most had no idea. Her image, sweet, loyal, trustworthy nurse, shattered in real time. The brunette called me 2 days later. Her voice was thick with guilt. She begged me not to say anything, she said. But when she disappeared that first night, I knew something was wrong. I confronted her, and she cried. She said she'd figure it out when the trip was over. I thanked her. Not for staying silent, but for admitting it now. Apparently the affair partner, Jason, didn't know she was married either. She told him she was separated, that the divorce was already in motion. When my Facebook post went live and he saw the comments, he messaged her one last time, "You lied to both of us." Then blocked her. She lost both of us in the same week. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. It didn't feel like winning. But I'll admit, it felt like clarity. The mask was gone. The lies were exposed. The control was mine again. Chapter 6, The Fallout and Freedom. The divorce was finalized in 60 days. No kids. No shared property beyond furniture and a lease we agreed to break. This was a no-fault state, which meant the courts didn't care who slept with who. We just signed, separated, and walked out different doors. I wish I could say I felt triumphant walking out of that courtroom. But what I really felt was empty. Not broken, just hollow. Like someone had taken my life, drained all the color from it, and left behind a sketch of who I used to be. I threw myself into work. Spent weekends with friends. Picked up old hobbies I'd forgotten about during the years I spent trying to build a future with someone who never planned to stay. Therapy helped. Not in some magical, I'm healed kind of way. But it gave me a space to scream without scaring anyone. A space to admit I was angry, humiliated, grieving. The hardest part wasn't losing her. It was realizing she'd been gone long before I ever knew. Looking back now, I see the signs. The distant touches. The fake smiles. The way her phone became her second skin, and how often she claimed to be too tired, too busy, too stressed. I just didn't want to believe any of it. Because when you love someone, you cling to the version of them you hope is still real. She was a nurse, for God's sake. A caregiver. The woman who held dying patients' hands at 3 a.m. and cried with strangers. I thought that kind of soul couldn't lie like this. But people are never just one thing. Sometimes the same hands that heal also hold secrets. I don't hate her. Not anymore. What I feel now is distance. Detachment. A cold kind of peace. She tried to reach out once, sent an email a few months later saying she missed me, that she made a mistake. That she wasn't ready for what we had and didn't realize what she'd thrown away. I didn't reply. Because healing isn't about punishing the person who hurt you, it's about choosing yourself when they no longer do. These days I live in a smaller place with fewer things but more peace. I walk my dog in the mornings and don't flinch when my phone buzzes. I laugh more. I sleep through the night. And sometimes, when I look back on that Sunday night, the moment I opened Google Maps and saw the first crack in her mask, I don't feel regret. I feel lucky. Because that truth, as brutal as it was, saved me from wasting years on someone who was already halfway out the door. So here's what I know now. When your gut whispers, listen. When someone shows you who they are, don't close your eyes. And if they ever tell you, it's just a girl's trip, trust yourself more than their words. Because the truth always comes out. And when it does, if you're strong enough to face it, you'll finally be free.